All right, it is time for some Kindle pickups. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm excited to share what I picked on ebook this month. E-haul, my e-haul. What am I calling these? I think I have enough this month that I'm actually going to do two hauls. I'm going to do the stuff that I got on Kindle, and then I'm going to do a separate video for the Harlequins and a couple of other romances I picked up. I picked some up on Google Play, mostly to check the mechanics of how that would work. But there are a lot here. So one, I'm going to get right to it. And two, this is going to actually be all Kindle. I'll do the rest in a separate video. So yeah, and I also, even with these, even taking those aside, there was a lot. I was not really good with restraint this month. One thing that I was pretty good at was sticking to a pretty reasonable budget. I got everything on sale, or it was already a really low price, so yay for that. And then I also picked up a lot of freebies and a lot of classics. And I think this time I'm going to start with the purchases, and because there's quite a few that I was really excited to go on sale, and then I will go to the freebies and the classics. So that's how we're going to do things this month. So first up, I was so excited. This title has just been all over, especially the science fiction fantasy YouTube. Is there like an SFF tube? I know there's the SFF BookTube Awards, and I think a book in the series might have been up for this year. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, I'm talking about A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is the first in the Wayfarer series, and I have been wanting to read this for so long, but my library didn't have it. It's not even that there was a long wait list or anything like that. It didn't have it. So I know that I suggested it on Overdrive in ebook format at least, but they don't have it. So it went on sale for 99 cents, and I did not even hesitate. I said yes. So hopefully I will finally get to read this book that everyone's been talking about for like at least 2 years, it feels like. Also, in sort of the science fiction realm of things, I picked up Ghost Planet by Sharon Lynn Fisher. This is, I was excited about this one because it's a science fiction romance, and it was one of the vaginal fantasy picks from before I was part of the book club, but I've had a lot of luck, especially with the science fiction titles, science fiction / romance titles, and so this one was their 16th, so I guess in their second year title, so I'm really looking forward to checking that one out. Also in the romancy side of things, and I think this got suggested as an alternate but never got picked for vaginal fantasy. I wish it would. I would love to discuss this book with people, and that is The Siren by Tiffany Rice. This is the first in the original Sinners series, which is actually a group of two sets of 4 books, so it's like a series of 8, but it's 4 and 4, and there's also some novellas, and I've read one of those novellas. I heard about their series because one of the titles was nominated for Arita a couple years back in the erotic fiction category, and this is definitely erotica. It's erotic romance because there is story. And the writing is really good. I've read the beginning of it, and I've also read 2 other books by Tiffany Rice, and I really like her writing, so I'm really looking forward to checking this one out. It felt, I don't know, it felt more centered than some of the other steamier stuff that I've read, so I really want to read that one, so I was really happy to pick it up. I think it's usually $1.99, but I don't know why on this particular day I decided to do it. It's also a Harlequin, so if you're part of their members rewards program system, you can actually get points for buying it. So I think that's why one of the reasons I decided to buy it, not just redeem points for it. I think. Anyway, so still really looking forward to checking that one out. I also was thrilled to see this one came up just in Goodreads, and someone I know was reading it, and that is I'll Be Damned, How My Young and Restless Life Led Me to America's #1 Daytime Drama by Eric Braeden. And this is a nonfiction memoir, and Eric Braeden is an actor, and he portrayed the character of Victor Newman on The Young and the Restless. Who doesn't love Victor Newman? I love Victor Newman. I swear, I used to watched that show religiously when I was younger, and then later on, whenever I seemed to catch a moment of it, it was still Victor and Nikki and Jack and Ashley, and just like, and always Victor, like always Victor. He was great. Mostly when I watched, he was a villain. I don't know if he was always a villain. Oh, he's so good. Anyway, I'm halfway through reading this one and really enjoying it. He's got a fascinating life story, and it's written quite well, and they're sort of told in each chapter sort of like a vignette on a certain period or theme, and I'm really appreciating hearing his perspective, and it's been a really good read. Next up, another memoir. This one I'm not familiar with the person, which is kind of unusual with memoir. Is that unusual? Do you only buy memoirs when you know the person? I'd love to hear your response to that, because this one is more, I guess, thematically drawn to it, but it is a memoir, and that's Coming Clean by Kimberly Rae Miller. And this one, the what it talks about is that her father was a hoarder, and I don't know who she is, so the blurb made it sound in particular that this was unusual and people didn't know about it and how it was quite a secret. So I'm really interested in the relationship between people and their stuff, and also when our opinions differ on how, you know, you should or shouldn't, how much you should or shouldn't keep. Like, I know hoarding is sort of like a whole other level, you know, because it's sort of considered like, well, that's a whole other conversation. But in general, I'm really curious about people and their stuff, and when they do or don't agree with how other people should handle their stuff. So I'm very curious about this one as well. And it was on sale. I think it was on sale for the month of May, so it was only $1.50. And I'm really curious to check that one out. And I also picked up some romances, as always. I picked up The Lawrence Brown Affair by Cat Sebastian. This was recommended by Sarah over at All Booked Up. I had heard her talk about both this one, this is the second in the series, and the first in the series is The Soldier's Scoundrel, and they're male romances, historical romances, and they just sound like so much fun, and I really wanted to read them. So this one, the second one, was on sale, and so I picked it up, and I'm really looking forward to checking it out. It just feels like nice and light and just, I don't know, enjoyable, and I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you, Sarah, for that recommendation. And I also picked up another romance, and this is Highlander's Challenge by Jo Barrett. It's the first in the Challenger series. It is a time travel romance. It features a current day woman who's like a bodyguard or personal security, and she gets, I don't know, somehow she ends up in Highlander times, and I was really craving a romance with a strong female protagonist, like a physically strong female protagonist, and so this seemed to fit the bill, and then I accidentally went and read Highland Chief instead, because I just typed Highland in my Kindle, and then I read the wrong book. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to this book, and I will get to it. So I'm looking for that one. Will be a lot of fun, I hope. Now on to the freebies, and I have a whole whack of classics, but before then I have a couple more romancy ones. And two of the ones I picked up were a mashup between cozy mysteries and paranormal romance. And I keep on trying to dive into cozy mysteries, and I haven't quite figured out if I do like them, or I don't know. Anyway, so I thought if it was slash paranormal romance, that would be something that I'm much more, you know, in tune with. And so the two that I picked up are Southern Spirits by Angie Fox, which is the first in the Southern Ghost Hunter mysteries, and The Switching Hour by Robin Peterman, the first in the Magic and Mayhem series. I also thought it might be fun to pick up some lighter titles and some, I'm always into anything witchy, and both of them looked witchy, at least, especially Switching Hour. And I'm always looking for positive witch representation, and not having tons of luck on that. And I don't know so there was those two. And then I picked up a paranormal romance compilation, and hopefully there's some good witchy stuff in this, and it's called Bad Magic, so maybe not. 10 novels of demons, djinn, warlocks, witches, vampires, and gods gone rogue. And I gotta tell you, when I saw Gods Gone Rogue, I think I almost automatically hit yes. And some of them are Norse mythology related, so I think at that point I'm like, yes. Sometimes compilations are challenging because this one really is 10 novels. And so but I'm always leery if it's gonna be like the first couple chapters or something like that. And also it's pretty, like, it's a lot. I'm a completist, so it's a lot to get through. But again, it's free, so you don't have to read it all. Even if you buy it, you don't have to read it all. But I'm curious to check it out. Also, I've noticed a couple of the compilations that I have picked up in previously that I've been reading this year are no longer available on Kindle. So I figure if it looks interesting and it's free, I might as well say yes now because it might not be there later. So that's my justification for pressing the yes button. God's Gone Rogue. Could you resist that? I couldn't resist it. I couldn't resist it. Now onto the classics that I picked up, and I think these have gotta all be all public domain. They're all 100 years old or more, so that if someone renews the copyright, then it's not public domain. Is that how it works? Anyway, these were all free, and I'm assuming they're public domain because they were free, and they're classics. So the first up of those I got is Lady Susan by Jane Austen. This one is a novella. There's a book to film adaptation now called Love and Friendship, and it's available now for rent. So I thought I might check it out. I haven't read any Austen, so I thought maybe a novella was the best way to go. I also picked up The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. She wrote Herland, which I read last year, and this one is a novella, and it's also feminist, and so I am really looking forward to checking that out. It might end up worming its way into my Readerama list, because I don't know if I'm actually going to get through all the titles that I picked. So this one I think was listed as 35 pages or something like that, so I might end up sneaking that in for Rama. It fits Rama and short. So we'll see. I picked up several Charles Dickens titles. I picked up A Tale of Two Cities. I picked up The Bleak House. Those are both on the Those Books list. As is also A Christmas Carol, which I have never read. And I've noticed I've started to sort of just build up just subtly this sort of TBR of Christmas titles. I put them to the side on my Kindle spreadsheet, so they're kind of becoming a TBR by default, and I don't throw them in my TBR box for Kindle because I don't want to, I want to read them during the holidays, not at another time. So when December rolls around, we'll see if I end up reading those. A couple of them I really want to read. And also picked up some Oscar Wilde titles, The Picture of Dorian Gray and The Importance of Being Earnest. They feel like the two opposite sides in terms of, spirit of things. The Importance of Being Earnest, I've seen adaptations of this, and it's so delightful and wonderful and whimsical and just wonderful. And then The Picture of Dorian Gray, I have read it. It is so dark. But when I read it, I was just getting back into reading, and I wonder... and I didn't, it was really hard. I found it really challenging. So I'm curious if my reading comprehension has increased enough that it feels like normal novel. So that's part of the reason I picked that one up. I picked up two Jack London titles, both The Call of the Wild and White Fang. One of those was Wise House Classics, Call of the Wild. But White Fang was just a regular public domain copy with a very, stoic, two-toned cover. I also picked up The Awakening by Kate Chopin, or Chopin. I don't know exactly if it's Chopin or Chopin. I don't know. It was written in 1899, and it is a classic, and it's a classic by a woman that I've never heard of, and I've never heard of the book, and, I want to read it. That got me curious just right from the get-go. And then last for classics, I picked up She by Henry Rider Haggard. This is from 1887, and it's a female protagonist adventure novel. And I found it on a list or maybe on Project Gutenberg, I'm not quite sure, and I was like, how come I've never heard this? A little leery of it though, because my goodness, it is almost 600 pages. So if anyone has read She, I would love to hear your thoughts on it, because it's one that I don't hear people talking about, and I don't, and maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's a reason. So anyway, those are the vast number of Kindle pickups that I got in May. Oh my goodness gracious. If you would like to buddy read any of these, if you have read any of these, if you want to tell me to avoid any of these, feel free to let me know in the comments below, and we can have a nice little chat about it. And I'm looking forward to diving into these. My Kindle TBR box is getting out of control. I think I might need to go a few months of not buying and just reading, but we'll see. We'll see. It didn't happen last month. Not gonna happen this month. Maybe it'll happen next month. All right, thanks for watching.